What's up guys, Sam and Andy here from Guitar Gear Giveaway. We're here on the Guitar Talk channel for another episode of the aptly named Guitar Talk. And we're about to talk about a guitar that's an extremely exciting one. We've got an original 1959 Gibson Les Paul Jr. So this is obviously one out of Andy's own collection. We're going to run through a few questions. You guys will get a chance to hear it as well. But yeah, welcome Andy. I hope you're ready for this episode of Guitar Talk.
I am.
I think to kick things off, because I need to ask questions, right? Because I know a lot about this already, obviously, having been around, but I want the people to know from the start, when did you first start looking into the idea of getting a vintage Gibson, and then when did you actually get this? So, my dad bought a 61 Junior, which is the one that looks like an SG, in about 2016. Yeah. Never thought about having like a single pickup guitar before. I was like, oh, I need two, or I need this, that, the other. I was using humbucker guitars at the time. Bad value for money. Well, maybe. Well, he got it for £2,500 at the time, so now very good value for money. But when we got it home, I played it, and it just had this massive ring, this huge bell-like ring, sustain. You turn the volume down, it was dynamic, and I was like, oh, this is something. There's something going on here with this single pickup P90 and a mahogany body. Got me thinking. Got the little cogs turning, and I was like, I like this. And I have my JJ, which we've done another video for, and I thought. Then I saw that my dad's one was too thin, the SG shape thing, and thin 60s neck. I'd snap it in half in an instant. I thought, where's it going? I always absolutely loved this shape and this colour. I've always just thought, that's the coolest thing. And at the time, these were attainable if you sold most of your things. These were still like... Prices weren't meant. They weren't, no. I picked this up for $4,500, which, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money, but I had some inheritance and I sold a load of stuff, so I could just about make that leap to get it. Now it's a bit different, but at the time that was just like, you know. When we spoke about it at the time, I remember we went around a few different conversations, and the point always came back to the fact that, hang on a minute, why would I buy a custom shop one when the original's the same money? It was about the same money. It's not like that anymore. No. At the time, the custom shop version of this, it wasn't a Murphy Lab, it was like a one-off I think they did in black. It was like a black one. Was about $4,000, and I thought, I could spend 500 quid more and have the original thing. Now it's not. These are more like 10, 12 grand, and a custom shop's five, whatever. I get it. But then it was like, well, why not go the whole way? Especially as this one had been refretted, expertly done by Neil Iverson, and it plays like any other modern guitar would. There's no compromise of this at all. So that was my logic. So do you buy into the whole single pickup, less magnetic pull, the strings are jangling, it's all a bit more open and wild, or is it all a bit... I think it's personally 90% the fact that this neck tenon goes to here, if you take the scratch plate off, whereas the special version of this, which is a two pickup, the neck tenon sits here, and that's why a lot of them, the neck comes off. So this neck is in there. This whole thing is... And when I play it, because I'm a heavy player, it's like a telly, there's no give. There's no wobble, it's just rock hard. I think that's it, and maybe a little bit of the dual pickup stuff, but mainly the huge neck tenon, and it's chunky neck going straight through it. With the neck tenon then, this is just a question for you. So is the neck tenon on this then potentially longer than it would be just on a regular 59? Like what they call a long... This is longer than the long... This is longer... Well, remember, a 59... Yeah. Well, standard, that's why I'm asking. You've got a pickup here, so the neck tenon might be the same length, but it's cut down. So this one, the block from the neck goes all the way through. Yeah. So you get all of that. It's like a neck, like a neck through body. Firebird vibe. You're almost getting a bit of Firebird. If you listen to it acoustically, it does sound like that. And there isn't a guitar that I've ever owned that rings like this. It's like an acoustic, and you can feel it vibrating with the stop tail bridge. It's so light. It's about 6.5 pounds. It's just one big resonant tone machine. You've used this at a handful of gigs, but not many. But have you got any particular like standout memories of actually playing it live? Is there any shows? So I'm trying to think what you've used it on. I have. I don't remember the gigs, I'm sorry. There is some photos that Dan might put in the video of me playing it at some of the festivals we played at and gigs. But I have got a few where we had the right sound on stage, and I did use this. I didn't use it for every song. When I get this out, and you just do a note, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but you'd be like, and do some chords, and you'd be like, there was another level of top end hitting me that my other guitars haven't quite got, and it just felt like a privilege to be playing solos with my band, Square One at the time, now Whiskey Embers, on something so historic as this. It was a privilege, and you just felt this inspiration to play better, because you just know you've got something really special. So it's that psychosomatic thing. It might not be that much better, and it's not that much better than my JJ, even if it is better. It's just in your head you're playing something very unique. Yeah,
and I think that's, to be honest, in my opinion, that is what I've realised now, is that is most of guitar playing. Most, like, any guitar can pretty much get you anywhere you need to go. It's all in your head. It's how it makes you feel. It's how it makes you play. And like we learned that even the other week doing some lead on a song we were recording, using an SG that was set up for slide, and then forcing the rest of the solo out on it. It makes you play totally different. I find that as well. If I pick up a vintage guitar, I don't know, I feel like I kind of got to play like a vintage player. It like pushes you in a direction of like, you know, don't shred on this. Do something classy. Like, do something different.
It does make you feel more sort of, it does do something anyway. Which I think, I've got to say, the Gibson Murphy Lab have done a bloody good job of doing, because you still feel like that when you play one of those. And the Fender Custom Shop. But yeah, this is it. It's got the smells. You probably see it in some of Dan's photos. It's been heavily gigged, but not abused. It's just been used a lot for its whole life. And for most of its life, it was probably a cheap guitar that just got thrown up against a wall. 20, 30 years ago, these weren't worth much at all. So, it's only recently people have realised how good they are.
So when I've chatted with Dan about some of his guitars in his collection, one of the things I've noticed about certain ones of his, mainly, let's say like his #1 PRS, I can just tell you now that's a guitar that Dan will have forever. Is this a forever guitar for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it is. Yeah, I've had it for, how long have I had it? 7 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Not as long as some of my guitars, but it feels like I have. I've gigged with it.
Yeah.
Plus, I have got other vintage guitars. This one is one that every other vintage guitar I've had to do something minor to get it right. You just got it out, and it was just rocking from the second I bought it, and it still plays, and no buzz. It still works as good or better than any other guitar I've got. So it's like something magical about it. It's just good. There's a good back history to it as well, about it being copied by other guitar manufacturers for their guitars and things like that. And it's got a story. I absolutely love it.
So, forget money.
Yep.
Finances. If you had to just keep one guitar out of your entire collection, would this be it, do you think? Don't think about the versatility, it can do this, do that. Let's say you can buy another guitar in the future, but I just mean you got to pick a little piece out.
If I had to, the problem is, I've had which is another video, my Les Paul Standard that I had since I was 12.
Yeah.
And that's seen even more of my life. I took that to school every day. Yeah. I gigged it every weekend. I still play it now. You're thinking, for history, that's been with me. All the wear on it. I mean, I didn't put all the wear on this, and I hopefully won't put any more on. That thing I had like new, and now it's absolutely worn out. Not worn out, but worn. So I'd have to keep that. It's because of just the history.
That's fair.
Not the value side of things, but just you can't replace your best part of like 28 years of using something, can you?
No.
So there we go.
All right. So when it comes to using this guitar, because obviously it's not something you're going to take out every day for gigs. Obviously pretty valuable, and we don't actually use P90s loads when we record.
No, we don't.
Do you still think though that there's like when you play this guitar and you come up with like ideas on it, do you think there's still something out there that you haven't done with it, you haven't figured out yet? You know, like sometimes you have a guitar for like 2 years and then you start playing something on it and you're like, I can do that. Like you kind of start to figure out.
Like my SG.
Yeah, and exactly. SG's been sat there collecting dust forever. It's like, now it's the best slide guitar.
Yeah.
It's like, do you think there's still something to be uncovered in this?
I definitely didn't find that out. I mean, Derek Trucks has been proven that for years. But also, it sounds good for lead and chords as well. It's got the SG has a different thing than it's not just a crapper sounding Les Paul as I might have thought beforehand. So what I did, there's always something to be found out. The good thing about these guitars is there's not much to fiddle with, and when you're playing it through an amp, you just got to focus on the lack of choices does drive creativity.
Yeah.
So if you've got one volume and one tone, you can do a lot with that, but it makes you. I started playing with my fingers because of this guitar, because it's so rigid. You try and do that with a Strat and it's a bit, but it changed my playing as a result. So I learned to play with my fingers because of the guitar. So yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Probably more to come, I don't know, yeah.
I think so, yeah. It's a leading question really, because I feel like that anyway. Like all the time, anytime we sort of pick up any of these guitars and like maybe we don't use so much, I always just think like we'll plug into some neural plug-in one day and we'll load up a preset and we'll be like, oh, this is what it's good at. It's just going to like soar through and then a riff will just appear and it will find its little niche. Yeah,
absolutely. You just don't know. This is why you should never sell a guitar. Never sell a guitar.
So do you think this is the beginning or the end of vintage stuff for you? Because I know we talk a lot about custom shop stuff. Is it like, oh, I feel like I've kind of completed it now, I've got what I've got? Or do you think like, does it get you itchy for more or different?
Difficult, isn't it? We've got, between me and you, we've got quite a lot. I've got some really nice 50s Gibsons, which is a privilege. But for how much they are now, you've really got to find the money from somewhere, which means going without something else.
Yeah.
It's a big ask, because if the Gibsons I like, it's tens of thousands. It's not just, I quite fancy that. It's different. Yeah. The only thing that I like, and I'm not a collector, is because I've got a 59 and my dad's got a 61, I'd like a 57 or a single cut sunburst. Yeah. I've got no use for one. I've got enough P90 guitars in the studio to last me a lifetime, but that would be one day if I've got a nice big studio, a cabin, just having them lined up would just be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do keep thinking, I know we think they're expensive now, but that's what we thought when I bought this.
Oh, exactly.
But in 10 years' time, it might be 20 grand. You know, when my dad got his 61 Junior for 2.5 grand, and me and him were debating not buying it because that's a lot of money really for what it is. Now that's worth 3-4 times now.
Yeah.
So, and that's not 10 years ago.
No,
so
it's how it goes.
It's not the end. No, it's never the end. I think there'll be a 57 or that single cut type one at some point. If the right one comes up and it's the right place, right time, I'll have to sell. I've sold everything to get my 52. I'm not sure what else I can. I'll find a way.
It'll be a good excuse to do another one of these videos anyway.
It certainly will.
So we'll see. Amazing. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We've kind of got what we've got out of this guitar. I think it's an absolute beast. Like I love it. It's definitely like it fills that little void of what we're always talking about that Telecasters do, but you just want a little bit more.
It has. One really interesting fact that proves how little these were worth in the olden days is Dan, you might want to take a photograph of this at some point. Somebody, some year, has scratched out Junior.
Oh,
see that? You see the scratched out?
I can see it, yeah.
Obviously, at some point, someone wanted to pretend this is a full fat Les Paul because these were rubbish and cheap and beginners guitars, which is what they came out as. Yeah. Someone's actually with something scratched out Junior. That's how much they thought of it. Yeah, I love that. It's history.
That's so. I literally
proper
remember,
history.
But all the time when I was like playing guitar at school, I had like Strat copies, and all you wanted to do was go on eBay and order the Fender decal for like £7 on eBay. It's so true.
It's absolutely hilarious. I mean, fortunately, this is one of the rare guitars that's got no headstock brake, original tuners, everything's original apart from a bit of plastic here. But thankfully, no one's tried to put a humbucker in it or a stupid Cala bridge or one of those. Even worse, those bridges that people think intonate better. They don't intonate better because this is perfect, so don't change it.
Yeah.
So luckily, no one's messed with it.
Amazing.
Because they were cheap, people did.
Yeah. It's cool.
It is cool.
Amazing. Well, thank you, you legends, for stopping by and checking this out. I hope it has been useful. Obviously, if you have any questions or you're interested in the guitar, please do drop a comment below. We'll absolutely reply. And like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We can't wait to see you in the next one. We're loving doing these Guitar Talk videos. Yeah. So we'll catch you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Laters.